Hi, everybody. This is Jack from the Happy Spot. And every so often someone reminds me how important it is to play, not just to laugh at a clever joke, but to loosen your bones. And I remember what it feels like to be fully alive. A while back, Barbara Michaels, sitting to my right here, invited Clementina, our host of the evening, into Lower Manhattan to Dance Parade, New York. And afterward to participate in I Dance Like You, where Barbara has the shirt on here. I Dance Like You. It encouraged us to spontaneously mirror strangers in Tompkins Square Park with the goal of making them feel seen and then creating joy through little impromptu dance parties. No stage, just a few grown-ups choosing joy at the end of a long week. And honestly, it was medicine for me. It's the kind of thing we can all use a little more right now, especially with so much noise out there about stress and burnout and disconnection. So today, I'm thrilled we get to bring a little bit of that spirit to you here. Let's welcome the jester of the piece, Barbara, and our host, Clementina Esposito. Ladies, I'm going to take a step back and let you ladies help me feel the joy. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a joy to be here.
Hey, welcome back to the Happy Spot, where we're always exploring the connections between wellness, work, and what it means to be alive. I'm your host, Clementina Esposito, and today, as Jack said, I have the pleasure of having the original performance artist, officiant, founder of Humorville, Barbara Ann Michaels. She's also known as the Jester of the Piece, has spent decades helping people unlock transformational healing and connective power of humor. From hospitals to art galleries to corporate boardrooms, her work asks us to remember what laughter can do. If you think humor is just for fun, you're about to learn it's one of the best biohacks we have for rewiring our nervous system, reducing stress, and amplifying joy. So welcome to the show, Barbara.
Thank you
How
for
are
that wonderful introduction.
you?
I'm enjoying myself tremendously.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That's what happens, right? That's what happens.
That's what happens because I make a point for it to happen. One of the things I most deeply believe is that life is a celebration, and that is not a naive statement. It's not trying to jump over things that are difficult. This is a miraculous existing, even for 1 second, especially here on the Zoom with you, which is an honor and a pleasure, is extraordinary. And so I work to have more people have more time and space and awareness to celebrate life.
That's so awesome. I love that. So I'm going to dive right in because I love to do that. And so interesting that our first question is, why is humor a human right? And I just
Yeah, and I was just speaking to that.
right? We
So,
were just speaking to that.
yeah, I was just speaking to that. So yeah, so if we have created a world where we think, oh yeah, these people will be joyful, but these people over here, they won't find joy in their lives, but these people will be joyful. If that's the world that we are creating, that is an inhumane world, because joy is inherent to being a person. It's part of the human condition. It's what we're here to do in part. And so we have to make a world where celebration is a default, not the exception. And so humor is a human right for that reason. But the other reason that humor is a human right is that humor is absolutely fundamental to health. So something difficult happens, as represented by, you know what's so funny? There's this little happy face right here. So something difficult happens to the happy face. Something difficult happens. And then it's too soon. And there's this comedy industry term called too soon, which means it's too soon to find humor with that situation. We're just not emotionally ready. Too soon, too soon, too soon, too soon. And then there's this moment, and this moment is called the first laugh. I call it the first laugh, which is the first time we put space around the pain, and when the heart has hope, and it's the first, it could be so tiny, it could be like so small. But that's when, like I just said, you put space around the pain, the heart has hope. And then from there, the situation starts to cook, and it cooks and it cooks and it cooks. And eventually, where we started with the human condition, we end up through the first laugh at the humor condition. And the humor condition is when we can laugh with this, an aspect of this story. The original thing is very rarely funny. I've had people tell me humorous tales about death of parents, brain cancer surgery, dating with a disability, trashing boyfriend's mom's house, ruining holidays, breaking both legs. It goes on and on and on. However, once we can truly laugh with an aspect of something that was difficult, not only do we reclaim our own energy and can use it for something different, like our purpose, and I know the show is a lot about purpose, but we can also help somebody else. And I don't think that most human beings wander around the earth being like, anything I've overcome to the point of being able to find genuine laughter with an aspect of it, I can help someone else with my story. And so one of the projects that I have is a library of people telling stories that were hard then that are funny now, specifically for that reason. And it is a human right to find wellness. It's a human right to restore ourselves, and it's a human right to help other people. And so in that way, humor is a human right.
I love that. And actually, in what I do, it's funny you should say that way, because in what I do, actually, we use writing, and a lot of people arrive at a writing retreat, which is where I am right now, right? And they actually do want to. They're like, I went through this thing, and now I want to help other people. So we talk about, meditation, breath work. They've become things that people, buy classes to practice, and, like try to learn how to do when they don't maybe necessarily they aren't in an acute situation. Is there something we could do like to practice doing that? Is there a way we can shorten the time between the horrible thing and the first laugh?
Yes. Yes. Isn't that great? Yes, there
Tell us,
is.
tell us, tell us. What can we
What
do?
is
What
it?
can
I
we
need to
do?
know.
What can we do? I need to
It's
know.
it's practicing telling our stories that were hard then that are funny now. So I have a whole town full of experiences, which is called Humorville. And this project called Circus of the Heart is the library of the town where people tell stories that were hard then and funny now. And this is why I call it the Circus of the Heart, which will lead into the answer to your question. People go to the real circus. And I was a pediatric hospital clown at one point. So it's with the Big Apple Circus. And people go to the real circus, the physical circus, to see people do impossible things. It is very vital for humans to see other people doing things we perceive as impossible, because then it changes whatever we think is impossible, blows it right out of the water, right? So an example I will often give is, if flying Frida can hang off the high wire on her pinky toe, well, okay, maybe I can ride this bike, or maybe I can skate, or maybe I can climb that mountain, or maybe I can learn to swim. One of the stories that I have is my friend Jared, who almost drowned as a child when he was 9, and then pretended to swim for 40 years until he learned how to swim when he was 50 and did a triathlon and swims with his son. And, but that's a long time to not do something. And so if he could what if he was able to find laughter with that story sooner than 40 years and start swimming sooner than 40 years? And there's a whole bunch of things that most humans are holding themselves back from because they haven't found laughter in this situation. So the emotional equivalent of this, what feels impossible emotionally, is forgiveness or laughing with what was hard. So if I can hear Jared talk about pretending to swim for 40 years after he almost drowned as a child, finally learning to swim at age 50 and running a triathlon and laughing about it, doing a triathlon, well, maybe I can call my sister. Or if I can hear this person's story of laughing with their house fire, maybe I can start my novel. It doesn't even have to be related. It's more like, if anyone anywhere is telling a humorous story about something that used to be difficult, It doesn't matter. It's the most equalizing thing. No one cares where they came from. No one cares what their life story is aside from this particular moment, what their economic background is, where what their educational qualities are, who they love. It doesn't matter because the human need to find humor with what was difficult is so strong that there's a lean in automatically just because
I
we're
love that.
laughing with what was challenging. So the answer to your question is one of the ways that we can make the distance shorter between the human condition and the first laugh, which leads to the humor condition, which is where we help other people, is getting into the habit of telling our own stories that were hard then that are funny now, because we all have them, and eliciting them from others. What a wonderful way to get to know another person by asking them, what are some things that you've overcome that were hard at the time that are funny to you now?
I feel like you just gave me a new writing prompt too. I love this. I love this.
Please take it. Please bring it to the writing retreat to see what happens. And
I love
so
it.
the just by being in the habit of this. So I ran a storytelling club on a senior adult therapy platform for a while as an experiment. And every week we would have a variety of senior adults come on Zoom and go around the circle and tell stories that were hard then that are funny now. And I would tell them, we talk about what happened during the week or what happened 50 years ago or whatever it was. And one of the women said to me one day, just doing this, I'm looking for the good more often in my life. And she said, an example of this is yesterday I was hanging out with my annoying neighbor. Isn't that really annoying? But yesterday I had this thought, like, what if I laugh about this later? And then I wasn't so bothered by my annoying neighbor. And then maybe my annoying neighbor wasn't even annoying. They were just my neighbor because I could laugh about it. And so one of the most critical things that we will talk about more in a little while is the difference between laughing with each other and laughing at each other and what that means for wellness.
Awesome. I love that. And we are going to go to break. We are going to go to break, but I hear you. I think it's like when you're in an acute situation, you have this tendency if you're sick or something's gone wrong, you kind of don't see your way out of it. So I love that. It's kind of like we've got to, the prompt just automatically brings us out of it first. So I love that. That's so great. Okay, so we're going to go to break and we'll come back and yeah, and we'll talk more about all kinds of things, um, humor and wellness. All right, we're going to take it to break.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
All right, we're back with Barbara Ann Michaels. And Barbara, let's take a pause for a second. I imagine you didn't just wake up one day Jester of the piece. So let's rewind that and before we head to, all the amazing things we're going to talk about tonight, including Humorville and different kinds of humor. How do you become, I mean, I've never heard of this before. I'm sure many of our listeners haven't. Like, how did this happen? How did
So there's a couple different answers to that. Uh, the way that I got the name Jester of the Peace is that a very, very dear person in my world named Michael Curran, who recently passed away.
I'm sorry.
Yes, one of the most, he was so committed to love and reaching for joy through whatever he was personally facing. And he was very honest and transparent about it all the time. And so I had this background. So my backgrounds are audience interactive theater, clown theater, performance art, improvisation. When I say clown theater, I'm not talking about birthday party performing with balloon animals and face painting, which are visual art forms, which it takes talent to do well. I'm talking about the theatrical art form of clown theater, where we take the ups and downs of life and find humor so we can all get a cathartic release and feel better in our humanity with each other. So, and I started to, two friends of mine invited me to officiate their weddings, totally out of the blue, in the same summer on opposite coasts. And I said, well, why do you want me to do that? And of course I'll do it. If anybody ever asks you to be in their wedding, like, okay, whatever you want, carry your dress, carry the thing, officiate the thing, whatever you want, I'll do it, of course. And he said, well, now you're a clown and a minister, because I was officiating weddings. And he said, you should be the jester of the peace instead of the justice of the peace. And I said, you are correct. I should absolutely be the jester of the peace. And then I started to lead with that. So then when I moved to New York, which was several years later, I was kind of starting over, and I was thinking, you know what? I was really good at that. I love community. I love celebrating people. I love reflecting people back to themselves. I love giving other people an opportunity to express themselves and feel loved and known, which is what the town of Humorville is also about. All right, I'll start a business. I'll call it Jester of the Peace. And immediately some people said, you can't call yourself Jester of the Peace. That is not serious. And this is a serious industry. And I said, actually, there's a whole bunch of people who, if they don't express their creativity in their wedding ceremony, they're not going to feel authentic at all. And the same would go for the people who need to express their tradition. If they don't express their tradition, they will not feel authentic at all. And so I was serving this very dynamic, diverse, creative population of people who needed to do costume weddings, helicopter weddings, weddings in the snow, weddings in the woods running around, like whatever they needed to do. And I was the one who was going to take them seriously. And I actually went to interfaith seminary because I was so concerned that people wouldn't take my clients seriously if I was an internet minister doing costume weddings, because I care that much about the sacredness of creativity. So that's why my legal title is Reverend Barbara Ann Michaels, and why I have the most lovely moniker, Reverend Barbara Ann Michaels, Jester of the Peace, which is super fun to say. And the name Jester of the Peace, even though I'm not a full-time officiant anymore, I did 560 weddings. I did some of the first legal same-sex marriages in New York State, which was such a phenomenal honor. Yeah, seriously. And it was like right time, right place to celebrate just the truth of love, which I care about so much. I mean, at the heart of it all, I'm committed to people being who they are and giving our gifts to humanity, and that includes the way we love. So I keep the name Jester of the Peace because it still means humor for humanity. It still means joyfulness for the people. And I am determined to have more people have more authentic joy in life, as if there's inauthentic joy. I don't even think inauthentic joy exists, just like joy, period.
Yeah,
and sometimes when I say that, I sound not serious. I'm so serious.
no, it's serious. Right? It's serious. But I think that's why this show is so important, and talking about, really how important laughter is, because we have so many beautiful, wonderful gifts available to us as human beings. And I feel like more and more people, shy away from them. So I have another rewind question before we move forward, so we have a better understanding of you and how you carved out this path for yourself. Was there a moment that you can locate, where that put you on the path to humor, or where you made an active, like that first active
Yes,
choice?
yes, there is. And we're going to talk about another person who I adore who passed away, whose name is Julie Goel, who is a clown teacher and a clown performer and a performing artist. Uh, and yeah, and so in 1995, I think 1995. Well, it's more fun to go in 1994. I went to a place called the Celebration Barn in South Paris, Maine, which was founded by Tony Montanaro, who was a mime who'd studied with Marcel Marceau. And I thought, I love dance. I'm going to really like mime. That's going to be fun. I had this background in improvisation from childhood. I was a theater kid. I'm going to enjoy this. I went and I did. I enjoyed it a lot. And then the next year, I thought, well, what else do they have at the Celebration Barn? You would think I would have founded the Celebration Barn because that's so up my alley. Later on, please remember to ask me what my seminary vow was.
Okay.
Because when you go to integrate seminary, you have to write your own vow because you're not getting ordained into a faith.
Okay.
Next year, I went to clown class with Abner Eisenberg and his wife, Julie Goel, who has now passed away. And I was so terrible. And I'd always been a smart kid. And if you're a smart kid, it's like if you have the answer, everybody's okay. And if you don't have the answer, nobody's okay. I mean, it's what all children have some kind of scale on which they're being judged. And I happen to be one of the kids who is being judged on the smart scale. And there's other scales that kids are judged on. It could be the physicality scale. It could be the art scale. I happened to be judged on the smart scale. And so I was so terrible. I was reaching for jokes. I was so uncomfortable. People were just looking at me. I remember just feeling my body tighten up, and I had no ability to process that much failure because on the smart scale, failure is bad. If you don't get it right, things are bad. So, and clown theater is so physical and it's about you. You don't go out and invent your clown character. Your clown character is based on who you are as a human being, and you amplify your own foibles, which is why it's so transformational and why people use it as a spiritual practice and a wellness practice. And one of the reasons I'm so devoted to it. I was so terrible and had so little ability to deal with this level of failure that I actually just burst and just sunk to the floor and started to cry because I had nowhere to go. And it was in my gut because it's such a physical, fundamental art form. And so I'm doing that. I'm just sobbing and not having any idea what to do with myself, which is even more embarrassing. And I was already embarrassed. So now I'm like redefining embarrassment for myself. Julie trots over, sits next to me, sits down. She sits down on the stage with me, takes my little head, puts it in her lap, puts it in her lap. And she starts to just smile at me. I think she probably stroked my hair, just laughing, smiling at me. And I have a big soul level pause, which is, this person is laughing and smiling because I've lost my bananas, marbles, and sliced ham. Like I'm totally out of it, and she's happy about it. How is this possible? How is she not horrified? How is she's celebrating me for complete and total failure. Everything suddenly, everything is different because the scale upon which I had been judged was, if you get it right, you win, and if you don't, you lose. And this was, if you fail horribly, you win. If you show up authentically, you win. There is no more winning. If you just open your heart and try your best, you can laugh about it and everyone can be better because we're all going to learn from each other no matter what happened. And then we're going to do it some more, and we're actually going to call it play. That was a totally game-changing moment in my world. And I remember when she passed away, I was in Barcelona, and she has a beautiful piece of theater where she was an opera singer who was a maid, and she would sweep, and she had a suitcase. And I went to Sagrada Familia in Barcelona with another friend of mine, and we improvised a piece in her honor on the day that I discovered that she passed away, where we were just invisibly sweeping the steps and laughing and running and doing everything that I could because she really opened my heart. And it's even bigger than that. it's like she opened up some kind of alternative way of existing.
A portal.
Yeah, she opened a portal in my soul, really. And I don't even think she knows. I don't think I ever had the opportunity to even tell her that story. I don't know that she ever heard it. And I don't know that Avner's ever even heard it. I mean, I've talked about it on podcasts before, but it's like once that happened, I committed the rest of my life to helping other people be seen and heard and celebrated, no matter what they had come through, with whatever they're bringing at the time,
Right.
whether it's serious or playful. It's like whatever you got going on,
Right.
let's just
Right.
open the door to the possibility of finding some humor with this situation so you can be free and reclaim your stuck energy.
That's amazing. And so now you've gone so far as to create an entire town.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about
Yes. It's so
And-
funny. So when I was a wedding officiant, the jester of the piece, I went back to my street theater roots because I'd been a street performer, I'd been a tour guide, I'd been a stilt walker, I'd been all different kinds of things. And I started marrying people to themselves in the street. So I had a photographer marry their camera. I had a little kid marry their favorite dinosaur. I had a woman marry her creativity. I once had a guy marry his fear of commitment. I thought that was pretty bold and funny. And so I started marrying people to themselves in the street. And I also would do like symbolic friend marriages. So like there's no opportunity to have a ceremony to honor your relationship with your best friend. And why not? So we would do that. And then and this is before same-sex marriage was legal in New York State, I would go in the Pride Parade and just walk in the parade and be like, who wants to get married right now? And people would be like, I want to get married right now. I've been waiting for 35 years. And so I would do those spontaneous ceremonies. And then I started to vote for people to be present at whatever they want in the street. And then I started interviewing people about times from their lives that were hard then that are funny now, like a library. And then I made a phone booth installation where people could call themselves on the phone and tell themselves everything they were holding back. And that was also in Barcelona. And one day, after touring all of these installations in corporate, at conferences, at parties, at cultural events, at museums, on the street, wherever I was doing it, one day I realized, wait a second, I made a library, a voting booth, a marriage bureau, a parade, holidays, a museum. I made a town. It's a town. I was given, and I feel spiritually given a town. I don't know how many people were given a town. So I've been given this town.
Wait, let's pause right there because we have to break. And oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So we have
about it when we come back.
And when we come back, you'll tell us how the town became Humorville.
Yes.
And where people can see it and all that.
Absolutely.
All right. Take it to break.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, 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 everybody. We are back at the Happy Spot, and we have Barbara Ann Michaels, Jester of the Piece, with us this evening, and we are talking about all things joy and humor. And we just for those of you who may just be joining us now, Barbara is talking about how she ended up being, as she describes it, gifted an entire town through one inspiration after another. And wow. So right before break, we got to the point where she had people marrying parts of themselves and their vocations, and she had a phone booth. And go ahead, Barbara, pick it up from there.
Yeah, so
The
thank
entire
you so much. Yeah, so this town, and I decided to call it Humorville. I don't know if Humorville is the name of it forever, but you have to call it something. So we're starting off with Humorville. And as of this recording, I know people will listen to it in the future, but as of this recording, I am about to do the very first pop-up of Humorville as a multi-station installation. Keep in mind, I've been touring the parts of Humorville for between 10 and about 15 years. So I've already tested all the parts. I just didn't know it was a town until I knew it was a town, because you don't know what you know till you know it. Or you don't see what you saw till you see it. I can never unsee that I have a town. So there's a wonderful, wonderful nonprofit called Chashama, Chashama, that I've worked with many times. One of the reasons I've worked with them many times is they totally understand me, understand clowns. It was founded by Anita Durst, and they put artists in commercial real estate spaces in between rentals of the space. They gave me a residency in Port Authority to uplift commuters. We did my Love Letter Lounge post office in a storefront on 37th Street. I did the Marriage Bureau in another storefront on 42nd Street. And so they've been like this partner of mine testing the parts without even realizing it. And they're about to do their 30th anniversary gala. And it's the very last gala that they're going to have. And and it's 300 artists taking over 2 floors of an office building. And I have one of the rooms. And and for the first time, I'm taking these projects that I've been touring independently and putting 6 of them all in one room. And after I do that for the 2 nights of this gala, I am then taking that installation and putting it in the storefront in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where I'm the artist in residence. And I'm going and establishing it as the tourist attraction for your heart and running it as an art installation that's also a tourist attraction. So people can come with their group, with their family group, with their friend group, with their business group, by themselves, on a date, whatever it's going to be, and experience being seen, heard, and celebrated by touring Humorville and participating in all the installations, because everything is audience participatory, because seen, heard, and celebrated is really, really vital. I mean, seen and heard is only part of the story. Seen, heard, and celebrated is where it's really at. And it looks to me like
right. And soon thereafter, you invited me to, I Dance Like You, which is where I saw you really remarkably doing that, seeing, hearing, celebrating people. And in a matter of minutes, I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget that one guy's face, he was the photographer, right? He was a photographer. And when he realized what was, so for those of you listening, it was like walk up to somebody in Thompson Square Park and try to make eye contact and, try to find a way in, and then really mirror their facial expressions, their body movements, whatever was happening. And, when he realized that we were mirroring him, just the complete change, that I saw in his whole, body, and his facial expression, and just the joy of being really mirrored in that way. So can you talk more about some of the changes that you've seen and in people and
yes, well, I'd be happy to do that. And before I do that, would you describe the change you experienced in yourself? Because you participated in I Dance Like You, and I'd love to hear
Oh yeah, well,
what
oh my
you
God.
experienced.
Yeah, I had the most, oh my gosh, it had the most stressful morning that morning. I'll spare you the gory details, but like, one thing included, getting passports for my kids and having to, like all the moving parts for that, and all the little like attention to detail, and worrying that I had every single thing that we needed, and all that, and then a work thing, and just everything blowing up. And I was really having a hard time, even though I was really excited to come to the city that day, I was really having a hard time letting any of it go. Yeah, and I mean, if you remember, I actually then when I got into the energy of the city, I don't know what was going on, but I felt like a human sponge, and like I was just picking up, like I had no filter, just like I was while we were everybody and everything around me, and it was just like simply too much, and I fainted, and I and then still didn't know how much I really was going to be able to participate in the rest of the day, but then really couldn't resist once I saw you guys having so much fun with all the other people, and really just just ended up dancing and doing all the things. And so I've been having these episodes of intermittent fainting, which I've been tested, and it's nothing terrible. So but I have never, they're usually so scary that it takes me a long time to recover from them. So just the fact that I was surrounded by such positivity and that we were doing this thing, I think was a huge part of how but by the time we left the event, I was like totally fine. It was like it never happened. And that has never happened when I've had one of those. So yeah, bringing other people joy was just wonderful. And that you could see, sort of the sort of, it's almost like confusion, then disbelief, then recognition, realization of what's happening, and then the moment that we're mirroring them, and we're going to have joyful movements and dance, and whatever dance moves they do, we're going to do. And even though they're the same, they're different, because everybody's body's different and everybody moves differently. And yeah, I was really I didn't know I needed to do something like that, so thank you, because it was really it was pretty wonderful.
I love hearing you say that, and it's very meaningful for me to hear, which we hadn't talked about before, that was the fastest recovery you'd ever experienced from a situation of fainting going into joy that quickly. And I say that there's a lot of physiology. So one of the things about the projects that I have, and thank you so much for sharing your experience, is that they're all about something serious. What I've discovered over the years is if I make a playful invitation, people can give me a serious answer. And if I make a serious invitation, I get an answer maybe half the time, because people get in their head, but a playful invitation puts people in their heart. And so I Dance Like You is really like, how connected are we? Are you open to connection? That's what it's really about, because the mirroring that we're doing, it brings people a feeling of safety. If you're mirroring what I'm doing, then we are really safe, because I'm in charge of this situation and you're listening to me, and it goes underneath language, it goes underneath everything. I mean, I vote for you, which is you vote to be president of whatever you want. That's about what do you stand for? And Marry Yourself is about what are you committed to? And the Love Letter Lounge post office is about what do you need to say? And so I'm a very serious artist using humor as a strategy, because funny, familiar, and simple lower all the barriers to entry. And it's my desire, and also a town. I mean, no one needs to figure out how to vote. You just go and vote for yourself. And so I'm driven to lower the barriers to entry, to make it as easy as possible, which is why I'll call it a tourist attraction. If I call it an art installation, a whole bunch of people aren't going to come to it, because art installation sounds strange.
I wondered about that. Yeah, I wondered.
Right? But if I call it a tourist attraction for your heart, nobody has anything in the way about a tourist attraction. So let's just call it that. What we're I Dance Like You especially affirms, and I wanted to make sure that we talked about this because it's so key, the difference between being with each other and at each other. So if I just, we can do it together. Just like take on the phrase, they're laughing at me. Just internalize that for a nanosecond. They're laughing at me. And when I put that in my body, I can feel my shoulders start to sink and my chest starts to sink, and there's just like a heaviness that comes on. And then if I shake that off, because obviously I would want to, and if I take on, they're laughing with me. They're laughing with me. I can see it on your face. Like the light, there's a lightness, and my whole body moves up. They're laughing with me. So if we trend laughing with, we will create love in the world. If we trend laughing at, we create divisiveness. It's not 100%. Every once in a while, the laughing at is the right thing for whatever reason. It's not, it's not. However, in general, if we trend this, and so I suggest that sometimes, especially in the United States, we have some young people choosing violence as a solution. I believe that this is a theory that I have, that they feel seen and heard and rejected because it's the at situation. I see you, I hear you, and I'm laughing at you, versus I see you, I hear you, I'm laughing with you. And it's actually possible, if we're in a laughing at situation, to change it into a laughing with situation. And the way to do that is say, say this person over here is being picked on because they made a mistake, and say they made some kind of clerical mistake at work. And I could say, oh, yeah, they made that clerical mistake at work. One time when I was working for a theater company, I accidentally deleted a field and almost sent 3,000 postcards to the wrong address, which is a true story. But so what I've done is I've found a reason why I have something. It's funny now, story to me about that relates to the reason why the person is being picked on, and then laughing at can't hold on, because as soon as laughing with is in the room, laughing at has to let go. And if that's what if that's it for you listening, if that's what you remember today, to laugh, help people laugh with each other, not at, great. If what you remember today is that humor is a human right, great. If what you remember today is let's share our stories that were hard then that are funny now. Something bad happens, bring somebody a casserole. If something bad happens, let's see if we can get to the first laugh. If it's too soon, that's okay. So those are some things to remember.
Yeah, that's great. And we're going to go to another break, and when we come back, we can pick it up with we got a couple different directions we could go with that, but we'll take it to break. We'll be right back.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
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 You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Awesome. So it feels like the best segue forward. I know you mentioned earlier you wanted to talk about the differences between positive and negative humor. And I think that's sort of the territory we were going in. Do you feel like you've covered it, or do you feel you have more to say on that topic?
I think that so to just represence it, it's the difference between laughing with each other, which is connective, and laughing at each other, which is divisive. The thing about this is that it applies to every relationship we have, including our relationship with ourselves. It's our relationship. How do I talk to myself? Am I learning to laugh with myself? Do I put myself down? Am I sarcastic to myself? What's the state of my self-love? How much am I embracing my humanity and allowing myself to laugh with myself and allowing other people to laugh with me? Do I isolate myself when things go wrong, or do I let myself reach for other people to help me laugh with the situation? Those are good reflection questions about the difference between laughing with and laughing at, which is the difference between positive and negative humor. It's really to be able to move a room or a group or even two people from laughing at to laughing with is extraordinarily powerful. And one of the reasons I work on humor is I think that humor is really underappreciated. Part of the reason for that is that humor has been stuck in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm,
And I have people say to me, just like I have people say, I'm not creative, I can't draw, as if creativity, which is the invention of our lives and responding to the universe, is determined about whether someone can draw accurately with a pencil or not. I'm not creative, or I'm not an artist, I can't draw. It's so boxed in. And so what people will say, I'm not funny, I'm not a comedian. As if the only allowable source of humor in our lives is a professional comedian who's exhausted themselves with difficult gigs until they made it in big time and are being paid on an international network. Like if I'm not a comedian, I can't have humor in my life because it's not safe. And what I would say is that that's what laughing at does. As soon as we realize that the humor condition, that going from the human condition to the humor condition is about finding laughter with our lives and with each other, then we reclaim humor for humanity. We reclaim humor as a human right. And that's what we're here to do. Humor is a natural part of the healing process, because before the first laugh happens, the thing owns us emotionally, and we can't even believe that laughter could ever occur, which is why people need to see people do impossible things with humor, like laugh with what was hard, just like we need to go to the circus to see people hang off the high wire. Maybe I can be a little bit more brave emotionally. Maybe I can reclaim humor as a human right for myself, which it is. It's absolutely critical to wellness to find humor with the journey. That doesn't mean everything is going to be find humor.
It's
Too soon
also
is real.
so interesting. As I'm listening to you, I'm doing these reverse sort of things in my head. I'm like having all these epiphanies, where I actually, as you were talking about, oh, well, if you can take laughing at to laugh, like I remember this time in college when I thought people were laughing with me. And then, and it's actually I've written about it. And, when I read that line, like, oh yeah. And then I realized they were laughing at me. You can feel the whole, like everybody's like, oh, right. Like it's like, right. Because, and I didn't even, I wasn't so cognizant as I am now, about what you're saying, but it's like, I remember just that sense of, and I know it's palpable to other people because that's the response I've gotten in read alouds of that part, right? Like everyone just goes, oh, right? And you just feel that let down, that disappointment. And as you were talking just now, I was thinking, yeah, isn't it always just the biggest indicator too when you're in an unhealthy environment is there's no laughter, right? Like, or the laughter's gone, right? Or in a relationship, you're like, we never laugh anymore. Right. And it's like, it's just, it can be just sometimes people are like, how do you know if you're in a toxic workplace? Or it's like, well, if you can't laugh, or even just the ways that I mean, I can remember, this is so, all this, it's bringing up so much stuff for me. I can remember, when I first started my business, I got a my first podcast interview, and I was like so nervous. And I remember my father being like, "Just make sure you don't, reveal that crazy laugh." And right, like almost like and I was like, "What?
Wow.
All right, like what?"
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, ew. Right. But I'm sure if that has happened to me, that has happened to other people where I have to be honest, it took me a couple of years to recover from that. Like anytime I laughed, I was like self-conscious about it. Right. And now I've since realized, I've since like really just come into it and owned it. And I realize it's such a big indicator of a toxic relationship or workplace or whatever, like laughing prohibition, right?
Yes.
It,
Yeah.
it, it,
And if you can own that your story about your laugh can free other people because you think it's funny now, I can tell because this is how you know. You know that a story has reached the humor condition when you may laugh or smile, it brings energy to your face and you feel lighter when you tell the story, even if it was about something that was hard. And
yeah.
so, and that's how you know that you can. And so we don't walk around. I may have said this earlier. We don't walk around knowing that we can help other people with our stories. You can help people with that story, and you don't even know what you can help people about. You just can by being out there with it.
Yeah.
It's just our awareness of the power of humor. It's I didn't invent humor for wellness. It's part of the human condition. We just have forgotten that. And the other thing about being at work, people want to work with people who feel like friends. And if you take the friendship qualities out of work, because there's this weird idea that you can be a worker and not a human being, nobody can leave their personal life at the door and work. You can try, but you can't concentrate. And you have to get 5 glasses of water because you don't feel good. And it's inhumane to think that we can leave our humanity at the door and go to work. And so the friendship values are storytelling, laughing together, listening, supporting each other, inventing new things together, having inside jokes. If there are no inside jokes in the office, it is an unhealthy environment because those are the friendship feelings. And if we hold back humor, we hold back business. We impede the flow of business. We impede wellness and business by holding back humor. And so humor for humanity includes humor for the workplace. And then it really is about laughing with benefits through everybody's well-being, having more energy to do the task at hand, feeling better. And there are studies on there are studies on wellness and play, and there's a lot of them. And one of my favorite statistics is children laugh 300 times a day.
Wow.
How often do adults laugh? Average.
Wow.
300 versus, what do you think? Take a guess.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Just take a guess. You can't do it wrong.
3? If they're
17. We're doing way better. We're way better. I'm so glad we're doing better than that. 17. It's 300 to 17.
Wow.
So, and part of that is because adults have been told that humor and play are for children. Humor and play are not for children. Humor and play are for humans. Humans who be able to find humor with the journey. The reason that I speak on humor and wellness and do the parts of my town across corporate, community, conferences, cultural, and academic is because there are no environments where humor for the journey does not apply. There are 0 places where humans are gathered where we don't need humor for the journey, including with our own selves when we're alone. So.
Wow. So we have to go soon, but I that you just hit on a question I really want to ask you, which is like, you've created these spaces where people can come together in community and experience humor together. Um, is there a difference between, laughing? I mean, I often laugh by myself. Is there a difference? Does being in community with people amplify, or is it more of sort of what you were talking about? When I laugh, I give other people permission to laugh, or
It's all the above. The next part of the town that I'm putting in is it's either a bank or a garden or maybe both. um, which is about it's
You're gonna get a garden, you're gonna need a bank. Gardening is expensive
gardening is
hobby.
expensive. So it started off as the Bank of Laughter, but I love the quote, the Emerson quote, "The earth laughs in flowers." So we'll see. But the Bank of Laughter is laughter appreciates. So it's the opportunity for people to send in a recording of a laugh of someone that they love, especially those wild, crazy laughs like yours. And to send in a recording of this laugh and why they love this person so much, and then put that in the Bank of Laughter, which will, because laughter appreciates anybody who has any laughter, if it's laughing with, it grows in value, and whether that's you're by yourself or with community, it all goes in the same direction. And that leads me to, I wanted to share what my seminary vow was.
Oh, yes, and I forgot. I'm so sorry. So please share your seminary vow and follow it up with how people can get in touch with you.
Yes,
Even though
yes. So this is a paraphrase, but it goes with what we're saying, and I think it's a nice way to kind of wrap it up because it wraps up what's important to me. But me as a representative of humans with hearts, and humor for humanity, and humor as a human right. It's something like, I vow to see and embrace all life as an equal expression of love, and I will unite us all in celebration.
That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful.
That is my mission in life. So people can get in touch with me. So all of my socials are Jester of the Peace. If you look up Jester of the Peace, Jester of the PEACE, across almost any platform, I will be found. Jesterofthepeace.com is my website. My calendar is pretty up to date on where I'm touring next. Anybody who wants to participate can send me a message, like if you want to participate in a dance like you, or find out what's coming up next, or bring me to speak at events, because I speak on humor and wellness audience interactively. I love to do that. I love to travel. So jesterofthepeace.com is the best place to go, or Jester of the Peace on socials anywhere.
Oh my gosh, wonderful. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for reminding us that humor is not frivolous. It's everything. It's crucial to our well-being, and anybody who wants to have a laugh or like actively choose to remind themselves how important humor is. I can't recommend your work enough. And I'm just so delighted that you said yes and that you're here.
It's as I said earlier, it's a total honor and a pleasure to be here, and take our vitamin H together, our vitamin humor, or our vitamin L for laughter, or our vitamin W for whimsy, or whatever we want to call it.
Totally. Or you reminded me of a childhood friend. I guess I giggled a lot then, who also said, who used to ask me every day, "Did you take your giggle soup today? Did you drink soup today?" And I haven't thought of her in years. So Camille, if you're out there, she always made me laugh and smile. Did you take your giggle soup today?
Did you take your giggle soup today? I also appreciate you for telling some of your own story, because all of my work is about having people be seen, heard, and celebrated. And that includes people who are supposedly interviewing me.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It really was an honor. All right, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, this is the way I always end, at least always to this point, is this. This is my wish for us all, which is, may you walk with humor. May you walk with humor.
May you walk with humor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Walk with humor, New York.